The NHS is in crisis. You don't have to search hard to find articles about bed shortages, ambulance queues, and A&E waiting times reaching double figures. New research published in the British Journal of General Practice has found that a quarter of the population are taking up half of all GP appointments and hospitalisations. This is because more than a quarter of adults in England have more than one long-term illness, and 10 to 15% of children are affected by chronic health conditions. These statistics are plastered all over the media, but I want to focus on the people behind these figures and to understand what it's actually like to grow up with a chronic illness. My name's Jenny Cole. I'm a journalist, blogger and YouTuber and create content about fashion, beauty, lifestyle and mental and physical health. I have also grown up with complex chronic health problems, including a genetic condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which causes, among other things, chronic pain, dislocations, fatigue and multiple organ problems. As someone with a chronic illness, I have noticed that there is very little media attention given to lesser known health conditions and even less to the people that have them. And with a lot of chronic conditions being partially or completely invisible, it can be hard for others to really understand what it's like to live and grow up with these long-term illnesses. I'm on my way to meet Taylor and his mum Tina to hear what it's like to be a young child living with a serious long-term health problem.
Dinosaur you are. No! Westfield Street.
What did you think when I told you that we have to take your eye out because it's making you poorly? What did you say?
Pete.
You said, no, don't take my eye. Didn't you? Don't take my eye. You were only 3. Do you remember? You were sitting over there at the table. You said, no, Mummy. But why did I tell you? Why did they take your eye out?
To save my life.
One of the cruelest parts of retinoblastoma, there are no other symptoms at all. They behave like a normal child. This photo that started it off, he had just started walking and we started taking photos because I wanted to get him into a modelling agency, and my sister's she was in London at the time, she was an actress at the time, so she knew who to approach for modelling agencies and everything. So we were in there taking photos on my proper camera. I didn't see anything, but I sent them to my sister first. I said, which one do you think I should send? And as soon as she saw me, she said, before we even do anything, Tina, she said, I just need to talk to you. She said, those photos you sent me of Taylor, did you notice a glow in his eye? I said, yeah, it was a bit orangey. I just thought it was the flash. She said, well, could be absolutely nothing, but please take him to the doctor, because I've read somewhere, or someone's read and told me, I can't remember, years ago, and I've always looked for it since then, that it can be a sign of cancer. As soon as we went to Royal London the following week, they said straight away, yes, he's got a massive tumour in his right eye, and he's got 3 in his left eye. We need to start chemotherapy straight away. So we know now that with the 20% risk he's got of these 4 other cancers, he's got chance of skin, bone, muscle or leukemia by the time he's 25. As soon as he tells me he's got sore legs, which he does a lot, I'm scared. It could come back any time. And because he's had 2 different types of chemotherapy, I've already had that conversation with his consultant at Southampton to say what would our options be, and she's already informed me that there would be very little they could do for him because he's had all the chemotherapy he really can have. But academically he's really struggling. They've done a kind of assessment and they think he's about a year behind everybody else in his year.
How much do you think he understands about
That's why I think he does so well. I don't think he understands any of that. The only thing he understands that we think annoys him and makes him upset, and the school have agreed with me actually, that he most of the time is absolutely fine, and then boom, just out of the blue one day he'll have a rage and he'll take it out on his best friends. He'll be quite physical, and what I've noticed, and the school said actually yes, I would agree with that, if he's been having some bother with his eye being super gunky or irritating him, or because it gets lots of like debris that sticks to it, you can't see, but up and down with the eyelid you can feel it, so it's irritating. If he's had a couple of days where it's irritated him for any reason, it'll be the next day that he'll have this emotional reaction to it. So it's not all his therapies, anything like that. It's just, this is really annoying me. I don't like being different. I don't want this eye, and getting in a bit of an emotional state about it. That's really the only thing he has an issue with.
Do you think he feels different at all? Or?
I think he does. I think he does.
What's the star ones for?
The star ones were for different treatments, like when you had your heart echoes.
What's the blue stars for? Sleep?
The stars are the stars, it doesn't matter what colour they are. In fact, no, that reddy pink colour, what was that for? Do you remember what that was for? Because you've only got 2 of those.
Mask one?
No, going off in an ambulance. Do you remember when you first started school and you had your special, after you had your special eye, and you had to go to sit with the teacher, and she read a book to everybody, didn't she, to say why you had a special eye? Yeah? And they gave you a special friend at school, didn't they? So that if that special friend could see that your eye was all gunky, they would just say to you, Taylor, go and clean your eye.
Who's my special friend?
I think you had Lily and Zaki and Curtis.
But I didn't need any. I think it was only Curtis. Me and Curtis, and we collected mud and attended the mud was poo. So we put it on the floor.
He's so funny.
There are hundreds of different chronic illnesses which affect people of all ages, from birth right up to the elderly. So experiences of living and growing up with a chronic condition will vary hugely depending on the illness, the age of the person, and the impact the disease has on their well-being. I'm meeting Steph, who was born with one illness but went on to develop several more as she grew up.
He says, throw the ball. I dislocated my elbow when I was about 6, and it set in the wrong position, so I had to have surgery to fix it. And yeah, I've just grown up with like chronic pain, and then later on in life I found out I had ME, which is chronic fatigue syndrome, and fibromyalgia. It just means I am wiped out all the time. And if I do too much, I get tremors and I'm not able to work and study. I had to stop doing PE when I was at school, and I had to use like a pull-along rolly backpack type thing. It's like a mini suitcase but a backpack, and use the school lift. And I was always in the library when everybody else was doing PE lessons, and having to use like a computer chair in science lessons instead of using a stool like everybody else. I guess I always felt like the weird kid in my class because I was the one having to do things differently from everyone else and be left out of certain activities, and I couldn't join in and fit in the same way everybody else could. Because I couldn't lift my like school bag and stuff, my friend would have to carry my bag for me all the time, and they'd have to go get the chair for me all the time for science lessons, and they'd have to do a lot for me. They couldn't just be friends, they were kind of like school carers. So I can't prepare my own meals. My mum has to wash my hair for me. Yeah, I'm not able to study because I can't concentrate, and I don't drive anymore because I'm scared of causing an accident or something like that, because I can't concentrate on all the road aspects very well. So when I was at school, I felt like so much of an outsider that I developed anorexia when I was about 14 or 15, and that was a real low point in my life. And as well, I'd say about 4 years ago, I have borderline personality disorder and PTSD, but I was admitted to the psychiatric hospital because I tried to take my life a few times, and they felt I would be safer there than at home. I'd just lost all hope and given up because I thought there was no hope left for ever getting better, and I just thought that I was always going to be stuck in the same place and there was no hope left. But thankfully now I'm in a lot better place. I've got the supportive parents and my dog, who is the best therapy animal ever, and the right medication and the right therapist. I think all those things are really important. I think I've also learnt strength from it, even though I hate to admit it because it's horrible and it's not anything you'd wish your worst enemy to go through, but you do learn patience and you do learn endurance, and definitely appreciate like bird song and nature a lot more, because I have the time to slow down and actually listen to it, whereas I think I see it so often in other people who are working, that they're always rushing on their feet and they're always like looking for the next thing that they're doing, and they're just missing the simple like little things like the bird song out in the garden, or I don't know, their pet doing something silly.
How would you explain what it's like to be a young person growing up with a chronic illness? Kind of how would you explain that experience?
Tough. It's tough growing up with a chronic illness. You can't do all the things that everybody else can do, and it's hard because if you compare yourself to other people, that's just bad. because you're never going to live up to what they can do. You're just not able to live up to the same expectations or the same time frame that society expects.
Due to the nature of chronic health conditions, a lot of people will have very little treatment available to them, and so must learn ways to manage and live with their illnesses. I'm off to meet Rachel, who, despite going through some difficult patches with her mental health, is finding ways to live her life and achieve her dreams.
In those days, it was 1970 I was born, they didn't know whether I was going to survive the night, or whether I was ever going to talk, walk. They didn't know anything, so it was a question of trying to do the surgery to put my spine back together again and just seeing what happened. They didn't have much of an expectation of what was going to happen next. I walk with crutches, but when I was at boarding school and I was learning to be independent, walking on the crutches, I couldn't do anything for myself. I had to keep asking people to do things for me. So I learned over time that I was better to be independent in the wheelchair. I went to an ordinary able-bodied primary school from the age of 5 to 11, and I looking back, I found that the children just seemed to accept me for being Rachel. I was just Rachel. I wasn't disabled girl, I was just Rachel, and I was just part of the gang, which was great. And then when I got to the age of 11, my mum and dad made a very hard decision of sending me to boarding school for people with disabilities so that I would learn how to cope with my disability.
So kind of looking back, are you quite happy and sort of glad that your parents made that decision?
Yeah, very glad. It was definitely the making of me going to that boarding school. In general, it's made me more resilient, more sort of stronger, and sort of like, right, well, this is happening now, right, get on with it, Rachel, and maybe not want to give up, just sort of get on with things. And it's also helped having grown up with an able-bodied brother and sister, that I haven't felt different or disabled, although I went to a disabled school later on. I'm just Rachel. I don't know whether it stopped me from being married, becoming a mother, but I often sort of think, oh, I would love to have found a partner and been married, and look at people my age and think, gosh, they've got families, they've got children that sort of in their teens, and look at me. It has got me down at times. I'm very good at hiding things and tend to not let it show, but I have from time to time been very down and sort of thought, why me? And I have suffered from depression. I was very fortunate enough to go and swim with dolphins, which was in America, which was absolutely fantastic. I haven't let my disability stop me from doing anything. I've sort of felt like doing something, I'll try and do it. I've been able to do rock climbing when I was younger, abseiling, horse riding, water skiing. so yes, it's I think really, I suppose life is what you make it. You know, it depends on the people around you and your mental attitude as well. Can I do this, rather than, oh, I can't do it. You have to ask yourself, can I do it? Is there a way around this? Always have a go at things. Try and think positively, and just see where the journey takes you, really, and enjoy life. Enjoy, if an opportunity comes your way, if someone says, do you want to go water skiing? Do you want to go and fly in a plane? Say, well, yes, I'll have a go. And then if you can't, well, you've not lost anything, because you've had a go.